Hi, okay. I'm going to do another tutorial right now, and this time I'm going to do a tutorial on how I'm going to do a table runner for the studio to go on top of my nice new table. So some of you may have noticed that I've, in the next few minutes, used some patterns I've already used. Yes, these are the same patterns I've used on the cushions on my sofa. So, first thing I did was I went to my favourite book at the moment, which is from Mandy Shaw, Stitch at Home. She has amazing ideas and wonderful ideas that match the sort of look that I'm going for. Any of you who like things that I'm coming up with will love her book. So what I did was I went into her book and traced off some of the patterns that she puts at the back to make the cushions. This is the first one, and this pattern, I'm basically mirroring what I've done with the cushions. So this pattern on the cushion is the cream one with the blue background, and what I'm going to do is, as you can see, I've attached this to a piece of cream fabric. It's just iron-on violin and double-sided. You have a paper side here which is enough to see through, so you can literally put that on top of a pattern, trace through onto the paper, and then the other side of it has the glue, and you iron it on, and then you can peel this off when you want to iron it onto the other thing. So obviously the image that you get will be mirrored, so you can't quite see. You can just about make out sort of shape of the house here. It'll be this way round when you actually see it on the finished thing. So I've got this house, and I've also got the blue one, which is this one. You can just about make out this is blue fabric. It's quite bright in here, but it is a blue fabric. And then we've also got this house, which is the brown one. So next stage is to cut these out. I'll just get a small pair of scissors and you literally cut around the lines inside and outside here until you end up with a cut out piece, which is ready to then peel off the paper and iron onto your other fabric, which will be the backing, and this is then going to be appliqued using you can either use, well, you can use lots of different sewing stitches, but I'm going to use my sewing machine, and I'm going to use a buttonhole stitch and then just literally go around the edge of design following that. On the cushions I did it by hand, but in this case I think I'm going to try it on the machine. Hi there. Okay, so the next thing after you've cut out all the pieces, which looks something like this is one of them, the next stage is going to be to iron these onto the backing fabric before we applique them. This just holds them in place whilst you go through the process of sewing around the edges. You don't have to do this, but especially with something as fiddly detailed as this one, I would definitely recommend fixing it to the surface. You can use a spray-on fabric adhesive, something that would then wash away if you're going to wash this. This is just going to be a table runner, and it's probably not going to be washed. And this stuff will actually stay behind even if it's washed, so it would always be there. So all you need to do then is just peel back this paper backing and then press it down onto a surface. I've got my fabrics here. This particular one, the blue, this sort of blue, is going to go onto, well, kind of this colour, but this is the fabric. It's hard to do with one hand, and this is the fabric I'm going to be putting that piece onto. You'll be able to see that as I do it, and the other two pieces which would have gone onto the blue fabric, I've got a nice quilting fabric here, and this will be the blue colour. This is the brown pattern all cut out, so that's going to go down onto this fabric, and the other one is the ivory coloured pattern, which is this one here. So next stage, I'll just iron these on. can tell which is the right side of the fabric and which is the wrong side, because the adhesive has a very slight sheen, which you can see shimmering under the light. So I know this is the adhesive side. There we go, that's the first one done. Just another two. Okay, so that's the second one. I really like how smooth it is once it's done. Another good thing about the adhesive is that obviously it stops the edges of this fabric from fraying once it's been ironed on. It's obviously not a problem if you're using felt or something like I did on the cushion covers, although I still used this stuff, but it's just a really good way of nice even adhesive all over the surface that sticks really well. And you can sew through it. It doesn't make your sewing needles get gunky or anything like that. And you know, obviously it really holds the fabric down and stops it from fraying as well. So it's really good stuff to get, and I really recommend using it. You buy it on a roll in your normal haberdashers. So it's really good stuff to use if you fancy doing any applique. Even a simple heart or something like that, a heart shape, would be ideal using that sort of thing. So get yourself some of that. Anyway, that's the next one. One more to do. And if you put it the wrong way up, you'd soon know when your iron's stuck to it. There we go. I know that the colour difference isn't as great on this one as it is on like the brown one or the ivory one, but I think once it's picked out in the outlining colour, I think that'll be a lot more obvious, and I think it'll look really nice. So there we go. Next stage will be to start doing the applique around the edge. Okay, bye. Hi there. Okay, so the next stage, after having ironed the pattern onto the fabric, as you remember, is to start to applique that with the sewing machine. So that's the next stage. So I just use a buttonhole stitch on my machine. You can use a zigzag stitch, you can use any number of decorative stitches really. Just pick a spot which you would like to start. It doesn't have to be anywhere in particular, and just basically start to applique this. So I'll do a few stitches and then show you how it looks. Okay, so that's this bit now all sewn around the outside. So that's taken about 20-25 minutes, which is a lot faster than if I was to sew it by hand, and I think you'll agree it's quite a nice neat effect. So next thing is to do the inside. There's more than one section to the inside, so obviously it's going to take a few goes to do all of it. I think I'll start on this side, and it's quite easy then to just use one of the straight edges to start off with, and you get a good run that way, and it's quite quick to do. I've changed the foot to an open foot this one here, especially with the fabric being quite close in colour. I was finding it quite difficult to see where the edge of the blue was because it's quite a pale fabric, so by changing to this open toe foot I get a really good view of what I'm doing. Sometimes the drawback of that is that, especially if you're doing like the zigzag stitch or anything with a width to it, it can have a tendency to allow the fabric to kind of bunch up, pull together sideways, because the tension of the sewing machine threads want to pull the fabric together, and because there's no front to the foot, that sometimes allows that to happen. So it's a bit of a payoff between being able to see what you're doing very clearly and keeping the work nice and flat. I did a few stitches with it and it wasn't pulling too badly. It's probably because of the stiffening layer that's underneath here and the adhesive. It's helping to hold the fabric together, but I'm aware of it as well, so you can also try and be careful about that. So basically I'll just carry on. Okay, so I have finished that side now. It's quite quick to do. That only took 10 minutes to do all of that. It's obviously half the size, so I suppose it would take a little less time, but also because of the straight runs on there, it does take a lot less time. I do find it useful to have a sewing machine that you can have set to stop on the down position for the needle. Some machines you can set that, some you can't, unfortunately. Obviously a manual one you can't do that, but some machines have a foot pedal where you can press the foot pedal very lightly and it'll put the machine needle down. This one's also got a button. Some machines do have the button where you can physically press that to go down. It's just really useful for pivoting, and it does make your work a lot faster if you can stop on the needle down, pivot quickly and then carry on. It does make doing this kind of work a lot faster. If you don't have that, obviously you just have to get used to cranking the handle so that the actual needle goes down into the fabric for each turn. Another useful thing would be to have, if you've got a knee lift, because it means that instead of lifting the foot pedal you can just use your knee to do that, and it can keep both hands on the work. Obviously it's quite quick to lift the foot pedal anyway. I only lift it a tiniest little bit, just enough to move the fabric the tiny little bit that it needs to go, and then away you go. Anyway, the next stage is to do the other half of this, and I've also got the little windows as well, obviously, to do. They won't take very long. So basically I will come back to you when this is all done. And that's the third one. And then the next stage is just going to be to put these together. So I'll show you what I'm going to do next. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to cut out the pieces to go between each of the panels. I have 3 panels now, and they're going to be arranged so that the one with the beige background sits in the middle, and then the ones with the blue background sit either side, and they're going to be in a row like that. Then between each one of those is going to be a sort of panel, a thin panel of the pale plain blue, and then, which is this colour, and then on each end there's going to be a sort of triangle piece going on the end here, and then there's going to be another long piece that goes on either side, running round all the way down the whole length. So I need to cut the panels themselves to the same size, because they're just roughly cut at the moment. Cut these panels so that they're neat, and cut the panels in between here. So I'll just do that, but I'll fast forward this. So that's the first square cut now. So this is now 10 inches, which means that with a 1/4 inch seam allowance that would be 9.5 inches square. Next stage is just to put these together.